Hello, good evening. Welcome back, dear friend. My name, of course, is Aaron Twist, and I'm joined by my sibling, the
Gabriel
long
Twist.
cast off
G
Yeah.
Twist.
G Twist.
Yeah, which I went by briefly in 1999. It did not go well or last long.
No. Today, we'll be talking about the episode number 3, A Good Tip for Ghosts, directed by Epson Storm.
And written by the man himself, the person whose ghost visits me in the night even though he's not dead, Paul Jennings. I am going to have to consult various seance experts to work out precisely what's happening, but I have yet to have good reason to doubt the information the ghost provides me with.
Have you talked to Dan Aykroyd?
I talked to Dan Aykroyd lately. No, but I have spoken to his ghost,
Oh.
though I did just discover today that he too is also not dead. So I have only further questions.
Maybe you have imposter ghosts.
That's a good question. Nobody ever asks if ghosts can pretend to be people they're not, because that's what I'd do. Like, 'cause who wants to be the ghost of me?
No.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, I'm the ghost of like, I don't know, someone from Australia who's interesting. I'll just say I'm Harold Holt.
Yeah.
Do you know what he looks like?
No.
Nobody does. Cameras had been invented, but they were illegal in Australia until 1991. Yeah, it was because Australia had a critical soul shortage. So this episode was based on the short story from Uncanny
Okay.
of the same name and effectively the same plot.
Right. Okay. So the little synopsis here: to pass a nerve test, Pete has to collect a rotting skull from the pond at the tip in the middle of the night. But he encounters the resident ghost who wants something from him. Now this is a synopsis.
Mm.
It's not the plot.
It's not the whole thing. It's not just the story.
Mm.
If you ever find the VHS for the Western movie of a live action version of Guyver, like the animated Guyver, yeah, there was like a Western live action version of it. Mark Hamill's in it. The synopsis in quotes on the back is just literally the whole film up to the ending. Like it just tells you the ending.
That's great.
The whole film. So look for that next time you're at a video store.
So we open the episode with the Twist family driving to the tip, the
Mhm.
dump.
This time they're not dropping off, actually. They're picking up. These days, because the next, scenes we see are them, like, walking over mountains of garbage. I don't know if that was ever a thing. At least it wasn't in Queensland.
It was.
Were you allowed to go on the actual piles?
Yes.
Wow, that's nuts.
I remember.
Because the places that we used to go to, because we'd go there to drop stuff off. We go, hey, let's look at because they had a separate section for stuff that works. Because I've taken stuff to the dump that like is fine. I just don't want to look at anymore.
Yeah.
And so like, they have fridges and stuff there. And there's like a dude that walks around harvesting the fridge engines because that's a big deal. And yeah, it's a whole separate section. Like I didn't know I thought it was dangerous.
It was.
Yeah.
Like that was, I remember that from when I was very young.
Yeah.
And
just back when you just let your kids rifle through like
pretty
medical
much.
waste for an old Sega Master System controller.
Because like I remember distinctly as they showed them rummaging through, I'm like, that's what they looked like. I remember it.
Yeah, I never got to do that. I never got the fun of like actually climbing the pile. The piles were just over there and I wasn't allowed near them.
You weren't allowed on the big ones.
Yeah.
Because they were huge.
Yeah.
So the Twist family is there because, Tony's a sculptor and he makes most of his sculptures apparently out of garbage.
Well, you don't want to, if you're an artist, you don't want to have to pay for materials. Also, at this point, I'd like to say that Tony Twist is a porn name.
Yes.
Like, there is no human way. Like, if someone these days, like, if I met a guy today and he introduced himself to me as Tony Twist, I would 100% assume that he was some kind of cam boy.
Starring Alexa Storm and Tony Twist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just like, I just like picked out a name. Like Alexa and then Storm. That sounds like a porn name.
Because I 100% was just going to go, I assume you know who Alexa Storm is. And I don't know.
It sounds like one.
It does. Yeah. It's that easy. But yeah, that's...
The first thing that kind of grossed me out was that Tony picked up just a pair of bagpipes and then just proceeded to start blowing them.
He put his lips to it, which in an amazing piece of familial mirroring, Pete Twist then pulled a armless mannequin up out of the pile and kissed it. In a wonderful piece.
Son.
Yeah, that's good that way. I do like that. And B, it is also, kissing the mannequin is a little bit of foreshadowing for anybody who may be a bit more familiar with the greater Twistverse. But yeah, like, I wouldn't put my lips to stuff that was in the safety pile, And again, it's not a pile these days. It's an area. Like stuff's almost like organized. You can just go there and basically shop for a fridge if you know how to like slightly replace the magnetic strips on them, But I'm not going to go over there and just go, like, don't get me wrong. If I found bagpipes at a dump, I'd probably take them home.
Oh, hell's that?
But I'd not blow on it.
Sterilize the shit out of it.
I'd tell my brother that I got bagpipes and to give him a try. Because it's like the reverse of the 5-second rule. If your brother touches something gross for 5 seconds, all the fucking disease goes into him, and then you're safe.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Why? I'm 38 and he's like 30 or 34 or something. And so if I went over there, he'd be like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "I got bagpipes." Tell me he's not falling for that again. Because I don't know where you get bagpipes. It's like the tuba situation that I have where I want a tuba, but I don't want to spend like $5,000 on a new tuba. I'm assuming bagpipes are hellaciously expensive.
They are. We had only, in my like 5 years of working at cash converters, we only ever had one set come through.
Wow, that is, yeah.
It was, something you never really saw.
Just quickly Googling bagpipes by how much is a good set of bagpipes? There we go. The cost of bagpipes has a wide range and starts around $300 and goes up to almost $7,000. God, I wonder what $7,000 bagpipes look like. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because there are ones that are basically... Because the bagpipes that like Tony Twist picks up are like your small bagpipes.
Yeah.
Like your alto bagpipes, I suppose. And then there's those ones that look like some kind of, monster from, beyond the veil. The full the full wraparound bagpipes almost. And I'd understand if those cost $5,000. And then what is it? Oh yeah, that's right. So after Pete non-consensually molests an innocent mannequin, the Gribbles show up to, and like there's a lot of class stress between the Gribbles and the Twists, but like, I mean, they are coming to the dump to put something there.
Yeah.
And not to like kiss things and suck bagpipes. Because like, I mean, look, it's okay to go to the dump to explore. It's okay to go there to explore for art supplies. But if we catch you at the dump kissing a mannequin, I don't care if you don't go to school anymore. Like, I'll follow you to where you work and point that out to your coworkers. That's a weird thing that you've done. And I think other people have a right to know about your behavior.
100%. We also see at 253, we see the cow skull in the middle of the pond on a telephone pole.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because like we don't know whether or not it's we think it's a cow.
It looks like a cow.
I don't. Because my first thought was goat, but the horns aren't a goat horn, so it's probably a cow skull. So there's like
steer.
There's like this pool, which is not an unsurprising thing to see in a dump. There's what looks like a kind of like old electricity pole in the middle of the pool, which is a little bit weirder. And then there's a gross green cow skull on top of the pole, and that's fucking strange. Like that's not a. If you see that at the dump, you're at the wrong dump.
Yeah. You might be like at that sewage farm with the guy who's way too into...
Yeah, he's way too into the sewage. He just loves his job. And poo.
So the families have a little bit of a mingling, and the Twists get everything they need and they leave. And as they're leaving the dump, you see out of a bathtub, the ghost of Old Man Chompers rise up, saying, "Me darlings, me long lost darlings."
Oh yeah, during the interaction, so the twins hide because they understand things like shame. Tony Twist continues to pawn his way through the dump pile, and Bronson goes over to talk to the bullies because he's too young and stupid to understand not to do that. And the bullies refer to what the Twists are doing as scabbing, and Linda uses the word scab a little later, which is, I haven't heard it anywhere else. It was definitely around when I was in school. Like, did you ever scab something off your friends?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was, you were basically mooching or bumming or, can I scab a ciggy? That was
Did the word come from, like, industrial scabs? Like, they'd call What are
Oh,
the
like, as in, people who cross union lines.
yeah.
That's possible, actually. Because I was going to say I'm not really sure what the etymology of it is. Look that up because that's our Australian slang for the episode. And while Aaron's looking that up, the bullies explain that they are looking for a quote nerve test for Pete as the kids are starting school on Monday, and Bronson being a idiot. Is delighted to find out that the bullies are looking for something for his older brother, and bumbles over and tells him to look forward to it because the Gribble's got a present for him at school tomorrow, which is obviously delightful for Bronson because his little knuckle brain only understands one conceptualization of present, and is obviously a source of dread for Pete because he knows that a group of other children are going to be very mean to him.
Do you know that I can't really find the word scab as the way we use it?
Yeah. I mean, it can be tough looking up.
Here we go. There's one on Urban Dictionary, finally. Verb, to obtain a goods or money from someone for free by asking them.
Mm. It'll have to come through,
Australian slang. Don't invite Rob to the party. He'll just scab drinks off everyone. Okay. Interesting.
So I found something actually on the Fair Work Legal Advice AU, which is I think a union website. A meaning of scab in the workplace, posted in 2014. In Australia, a scab, in addition to being a word to describe a part of the body's healing process, is also a very derogatory description of a person who breaks ranks with his or her fellows and refuses to participate in industrial action.
Right.
So there's definitely that, and I think you're right when you say that it has come from that. The whole point of calling someone a scab was to offend and belittle them, and the offense was, if anything, magnified by the scab sign's elaborations. No principles, no guts. So it's probably derived from that. A lack of principles, and probably a demonstrated will to behave outside of what is considered standard.
Right.
Which is probably then passed down into, repeatedly asking friends to support you materially. The weird thing is about like the tail end just before they leave and see the ghost in the bathtub is Gribble tells him about the ghost in the bathtub, and the ghost in the bathtub's real. And he also told them about the toilet ghost, and the toilet ghost is real. So somehow Gribble is like the repository for all the fucking spectral.
He's like who is spreading these stories? Yeah. It must be Nell.
I'd believe that, but like I don't see Gribble sitting around listening to Nell like willfully. Unless she like chained him to a rock and just whispered a bunch of stuff into his ear while he was sleepwalking. Maybe. I'm going to start writing my Round the Twist fan fiction. I'm going to bust some of that stuff out. It's going to be incredibly dark. And I think threateningly sexual, but I feel like that's just, drawing out what's already in the material. But yeah, I just noticed that because he was right about that. He's like, hey, there's a ghost called Old Man Chompers who's going around looking for his little darlings. And so sure enough, the next scene we see Old Man Chompers asking about darlings.
Yeah.
And calling twins little darlings is kind of creepy. That's something like a grandma from our, like our level of grandma would like call, two puppies or some shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't like it.
It's just a bit off. Like you can call kids little darlings, you can call pets little darlings. I think once they hit puberty, you can't be calling things little darlings. It starts to reach over into this sinister territory.
Really does. So yeah, they say Old Man Chompers
looking for his twin grandchildren,
and it's quite creepy. It's creepy, and it's the first ghost that's talked so far.
Oh yeah, that's a good point because like the fucking toilet ghost was mute. Interesting development.
Yeah, and obviously the last one was a bird.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that there was a ghost bird in there. I got caught up thinking about the dragon of the last episode.
Right, yeah.
Birds do. Huh.
Yeah, so he was the first talking ghost, so that's a little development. And then we cut back to the lighthouse. And they're in... Wait.
They're in their school uniforms. Yeah, they're getting dressed for school.
Getting ready for school. And the kids, they don't want to quite go, except for Bronson, who's a little shit because
the weight of the world hasn't crushed him.
No, Pete, like the dad is like, "Yo, are you ready for school? Pete, what are you doing? Linda's like, I don't want to go. And then Bronson's like, oh, I'm ready. Like, Bronson.
And he's
shut
dressed
up.
like he fell into the dirty clothes basket.
Yeah. He probably did.
Yeah,
Let's
and I
be
mean,
real.
to be fair, like, what's Tony doing if he's not helping his quite young child get dressed for school? Like, it's just hanging out.
He's jacking off.
Speaking of which, we do, as they're driving to school, obviously the teenagers don't want to be seen with their stupid artist dad, and I do not blame them at all. I think either deliberately or through just staggering ignorance, Tony Twist would be unbelievably embarrassing to stand near, let alone be associated with.
I feel embarrassed just watching it.
It is, yeah. There is like a pulsating wave of shame that you will catch secondhand whiffs of. So the kids get out, well before the school and, walk there themselves. Bronson obviously doesn't care and just gets dumped out the school. And that is where we meet two new characters. Bronson's teacher, Ms. Faye James, and Horny Dad, who is a feature of this episode.
Man, horny dad.
Because
Because Bronson is like, you don't need to walk me out. And then Tony locks eyes with Miss James.
I don't think he even locks eyes. He just
No, they
sees
do.
it.
They do.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right. She does look over.
She
yeah.
looks over. They lock eyes. And he's like, oh, Bronson, I better come with you.
Yeah, he gallops. It's a display.
It's staggering.
Like, it is a bit much. That's what I mean. It's not like he sees it and there's like maybe a little music refrain and he's thinking, that's, look.
No, he's
Yeah,
like, I'm going
there's
to
a-
get up in that business right
Fuck,
now.
Yeah, like falls over himself getting out of the car. Like it's visible. And I don't think a child should ever have to see their dad like fucking just that horny.
No.
Ever. I think that's
No.
child abuse. I'm a 38-year-old man and watching that abused me. Like imagine having to see your dad just like thirsty as shit.
Thank
Like,
you.
Yeah. At somebody you have to see regularly.
Yeah, no way. They have a little exchange. He introduces himself as Bronson's dad, Tony Twist, and she introduces herself as Miss James. And the conversation goes on, and Tony keeps trying to get a name. He keeps trying to put, you call me Tony. And
Yeah.
she's like, no, call me
Call
Miss
me
James.
Miss James. Yeah,
and she
this
keeps
is not-
enforcing that
Yeah.
hard. And he also says, I'm a sculptor. I bang
Yeah.
things together.
I wrote bang things together down as well,
Yeah.
and then already inviting her to the lighthouse.
To see it.
Yeah,
And just that choice of words, bang things together,
yeah, no,
is
that's like,
weird.
well, again, that's horny dad.
I'm a sculptor. I sculpt. That's what you say.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand like, because some of his sculpting is a little more industrial.
Yeah.
Like I think he does have like a broad like skill set, but like I bang things together. Come over to my house, I bang things together. It's like you're lucky there's a child present. Otherwise, I mean, that'd be slightly threatening, or at least aggressive. Again, it's just too horny. I feel like it's too horny for this show. And there's already been a lot of horny energy in this show. There's Pete molesting a mannequin, and now I got to deal with this. It's the real
No.
ghost.
Tony tries to get call over to Pete and Linda, who are stone cold ignoring him, walking
Yeah.
through the schoolyard.
Never, yeah.
And let me tell you, I just remember schoolyards from when I was young. And in the morning could be a horrible time because there's just, you don't know what's going to happen.
Mm,
There's kids everywhere that show up. Fuck, who knows?
yeah, it's hard to see what's going on.
And Tony again repeats, this is the thing that kind of weirded me out a little bit. They repeated the scene of call me Tony.
Call me Tony.
He kept saying it. It was weird.
Call me Tony.
Hey.
Further proof, I think, that Tony Twist is a porn name.
Yeah. You see them say their goodbyes. Tony says, "Oh, you should come see my sculptures sometime." And as he's walking away, another teacher approaches and says, "Oh, good morning, Faye." And he goes, "Faye."
Yeah.
And now our commentator, who's writing the commentary on Amazon, is doing
The
a
subs.
fucking bang up job again because they wrote Fate instead of Faye.
Substandard subs.
And Tony
Backs into
he backs
bins.
into a bin. He falls
Yeah.
in a bin, which is very funny because he's a very tall fellow.
That's where the horny has to go, Aaron.
And
You
he
have
gets wedged
horny
in.
goes in the bin.
And I love someone sitting in a bin and standing up and then the bin still being on them. That always makes me laugh.
I feel like that's some like 1930s metaphor for erections, like Like, if someone told me that that was an old vaudeville thing that meant like
Yeah.
penis, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can see it there. Yeah, because like it's backwards, but I get it. Like, because you couldn't have front penis in the 30s, they'd
No.
lynch you. And then like, yeah, so while this is going on, you know, Pete and Linda run into Gribble and Rabbit, the big one, and Tiger, the small one, and it's time for them to pass what turns out to be like some kind of Benny Gesserit box test,
Mm.
which is more creativity than my bullies ever gave me. Like, I'm kind of bummed about that because, like, crafts were involved, you know?
You know what bullies did? They just threw rocks or punched. Like, that's it.
No, none of my bullies ever went to the craft section and bought the gold felt tip pen.
No.
Because that's a paint pen. You can't just get gold felt. Like, you have to go to the craft store and they're not cheap. They're like $5 a piece. You know, felt pens are like 30 cents. So, like, this kid's been at home, you know, painting a box, putting like gold skulls on the side of it.
He's a very creative bully.
I think he could, like, you know, that he's a sculptor. I think he could, you know, apprentice under Tony Twist, you know, learn to create sculptures that bully.
See, now we're writing new Round the Twist stories,
Yeah.
and we're not even getting paid.
No, it's okay. I'll do it for free just because these stories need to exist in the collective unconscious.
So, yeah, they're going to set up the Gribble nerve test and make him take it. But, bing, bing, there's school bell.
The classic Saved by the Bell. And so we meet. I think we don't really follow Bronson because I think fundamentally watching him get put in the cage that all 90s Australians classrooms had for kids like him would have just been
because
sad.
in the credits scene over the music, there was a lot of scenes that weren't in the episode.
Yeah, like, yeah, they use fucking deleted scenes as like their credit stuff, which is actually kind of
Because they have Bronson and Miss James in a classroom.
Yeah.
So she's introducing him to the class, and that was not in the episode.
probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Because, like, so we meet the teacher that, you know, ran over to Faye is Pete and Linda's teacher.
Mr. Stanhope.
Stanhope, that's right, yeah. I didn't write that down. I was like, oh no, I did write Stanhope down. Because I did mention that in terms, and it's not something you see in the Australian classroom much these days, I think because they've all died out, like literally. But he is a, you know, very colonial British style teacher, and like very specifically not like a British teacher, an Australian colonial British teacher, as in, you know, the manner and the authority is very important to him. And you can see that in how he manages the classroom. And a lot of his, you know, quote, discipline, unquote, is really just non-functional bullying to establish the hierarchy that he needs and derives self from. Yeah, he makes Tiger stand up and recite some Shakespeare that he made him memorize as a form of punishment. I think he's a drama teacher. Like, that's what I gather.
I think
from this.
so.
And it's weird to see that level of authoritarianism in a drama teacher. They usually clash.
You're right. So he sees the new students after making Tiger recite. He says if you keep talking, I'm going to make you learn Othello.
Yeah, which might actually be good for Tiger. I think, you know, Tiger managed to remember all that, which is, see, that's the kind of thing that you'd, you know, because, like, you know, for those of you unaware at home, this is my studied area, and I did like my prac and a few other things for education. So, you know, Tiger getting up there and actually managing to remember some Shakespeare is something that I'd cultivate. You know, I'd try to encourage the boy.
Yeah.
But then I'm not a deranged colonial authoritarian.
So he asks Linda, "Where are you from, darling?" To which she replies, "Linda, sweetheart," which is not the answer to the question.
It isn't.
Which I found very weird.
Yeah. But in a way, I sort of do like that. Oh, I suppose it's not answering the question. She's asserting that her name isn't darling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of, I get that now. For me, it was just like, I thought she was being surreal, which is, you know, quite possible, but yeah. And then, yeah, so the teacher, and, you know, once again, demonstrating that my initial instincts were 100% correct. After she says, you know, it's Linda, sweetheart, he goes, "A feminist."
Yeah.
Which, like, that's one of those things where it's like, if your idea of a woman being a feminist is wants to be called her name, you've probably got some old-fashioned attitudes, like real old-fashioned.
he sends her to sit with Fiona, who he identifies as another feminist quotation.
Well, he knew her first name, so of course. Like, that's, what else could she be? She's not just called Uterus 3. Like, and then,
Interesting enough with Pete, he doesn't even ask him his name.
Well,
or
I mean, who cares?
anything.
Yeah, like it's just a weird scene. Yeah, he looks at Pete and starts immediately criticizing his posture.
Yeah.
To be fair, it wasn't great. But
It was
still.
awful, but
Yeah.
you still, he in front of the whole class, he says, how does a new nervous boy walk? And
Yeah.
Fiona answers, and then he's like, demonstrate for us a new boy. And so he does.
Yeah.
And then he uses the exact words that Gribble Jr. put on him before the bell rang.
It's solid because
and his face was just, it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? He was not happy. Funny enough.
Yeah, so like, and Pete's got a weird look on his face. Pete's got a slightly sinister energy to him, which I do like, and I do think
he kissed
fits the
the
character.
mannequin.
I forgot about
he
that.
sucked
Yeah.
his tooth. So far, Pete is shaping up to be a weirdo.
Yeah, like I get distinct pansexual theater kid vibes from him. Like if he'd found that like mannequin in like just 3 years later, it wouldn't have stopped at kissing. Yeah.
Well, he did. If you look at his hand, he does put his hand, start to put it up between the legs, and then jerks back.
Oh goodness, I did not notice that.
When he noticed where his hand is. So I don't know if that's the actor trying to hold it and then realizes where his hand is.
That's a job for you at home. You've got to like screen cap. You have to screen cap that. We'll give you the email address and other contact details at the end of the episode. But yeah, you've got to support or deny this claim because that is a very interesting development. If it's big if true. So yeah, he judos the abuse back onto the bully. But then if one the bell giveth, the bell taketh away. So now it's lunchtime, and they're back out with the fucking Benny Gribble, who's going to make him put his hand in the box.
The box. And there's a bit of a crowd too.
I mean, I'd watch that. I'd watch that now. Like, if I saw a bunch of kids and, again, like, bullying, it was just rocks and, like, getting hit. There was no, like, oh, yeah, we built something. We built a contraption. We went somewhere. Thought and care went into this,
Pete puts his hand in the box very nervously, yanks
Pulls
it out the first time.
And then Rabbit jumping around, doing the kind of running sportsman commentary in the background. But then a lady shows up. What was her name again?
Fiona.
Tamsin Drumstick? Okay, Fiona.
Tamsin West is the chick who plays Linza.
Right. Fiona. Yeah, so Fiona shows up, and like the time I wound up jogging 2 kilometers because there were hot girls sitting near my usual turnaround point, which that's my personal best. That actually happened. Pete stuffs his hand in the box.
And pulls out a set of teeth. Manky old teeth.
I mean, again, that's 2 episodes where it's been like, there's just dump teeth. And like, there's just too many teeth in this world. I don't think there's that many teeth in general, I think they're all buried with their old people. Otherwise, how will they bite things in the afterlife?
Yeah. How will they have ghost teeth?
So he passed that test. And I feel like Gribble couldn't handle the dual defeats of that and the classroom incident.
That was a lot.
It's too much.
So he adds another stipulation to the nerve test. That Pete has to return the teeth to the tip. Pete's like, that's easy. At night. It's still pretty easy.
It's just a tip at night.
It's just a tip at night. Ghost of old man Chompers. He's gonna get you.
But yeah, in order to, the third factor is he must bring the skull back as proof, because you could just throw the teeth away.
Yeah, easy. I went to the tip.
Yeah,
throw them away.
So that's now the quest for the twins.
Yeah. So this is about the half point of the episode, and we cut back to the lighthouse, and The twins are in the room with Bronson.
They have a The Saints poster on the wall.
Who are the Saints?
The Saints are a Brisbane punk band that were actually kind of big back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember back when my dad was doing band work, he did like a few gigs at the same venue in the same night and stuff, and then apparently like made fun of them, which is very dad. And I think their lead is a guy named Ed Cooper, and I was friends with his son in high school.
Yeah.
So
There
I've
you
fondled his ARIA awards,
Cool.
and they are unbelievably sharp.
Oh.
Yeah, like, the ARIA award, look it up for foreigners. It is a solid steel pyramid, and you'd think that the corners would be blunted because otherwise they're insanely dangerous, and they're not. They're just fucking sharp as shit.
That's weird.
I do appreciate an award that can also double as a weapon or stage fatality if the option should arise.
Oh.
So yeah, there are a few little cultural personality markers, like the way Tony Twist has a Greenpeace sticker on his truck, that kind of like communicate an awful lot about what these people are like, that may be a little may go past a few people who aren't familiar with them.
Now, another Australian sort of word comes up here is dobber.
Oh yeah, I miss Dobber.
So to dob on someone is to tattle, tell,
Yeah.
that sort of
Tell
thing.
on 'em.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's used elsewhere other than Australia. I feel it might be a British thing too.
It's probably an import, but I haven't heard it in much British media, so it might be one of those ones that kind of came over with the convicts, but then stopped getting used much in England, but like remained on in here. So yeah, you dob someone in, you tell on them, and a dobber is a largely derogatory term for someone who will frequently tell on you.
Yeah.
To the point where, you're calling them a bootlicker essentially.
And so Pete decides he's going to go to the tip. Linda wants to come too, as of course does Bronson. And we cut to one of the best shots in the episode with the commentary. It's just the lighthouse and then bagpipe music.
Bagpipe music in brackets. Yeah, I do like that.
And Dad's still playing the bloody bagpipe. He's up the top of the lighthouse just playing the bagpipe.
He's putting his lips on it.
He's all over it, just sucking it. And
The suck pipes.
he sees rock up to the lighthouse. Faye.
Hey.
Miss James is there. And good Lord, Dad is horny.
We
I have never seen a man move so fast.
It's, eating a banana turns Eric into Banana Man. Seeing Faye turns Tony into Horny Dad. And he gallops down those stairs at speed. Again, it's just too much
I
horny
would have just
energy.
slid down the railings. Was there a railing?
I mean, I'd install one.
Yeah.
You just put a pole in there, like, the
Fireman.
like the fireman. Because you could just,
Is the middle of a lighthouse solid though?
I don't think so. I think the top of it is. Because the middle of it's got to be like hollow, because that's where the people live.
Are, yeah, you're right.
I don't know, maybe some kind of central.
Imagine you're just trying to sleep and your dad comes flying down the pole just through your room. Hey, son.
It's like Batman, the way they'd get changed, except he's turning into Horny Dad.
Yeah, he'd come down the next time naked. Just greased up.
Just rubbing himself against it.
So
Yeah.
interesting. I looked up the word dobber, and it was used in Scotland. A member of the working class in Scotland who was seen as an undereducated with poor taste, especially in clothes and poor social skills.
Huh.
Closely related to the English chav.
Chav, all right, yeah. Huh, yeah, so it's the Scottish version. I wonder if it's actual Scots or if it's just Scots dialect English.
I don't know.
Could be actual Scots.
So Tony gets down to the bottom of the door. He opens it and boom,
Nell.
Nell cockblock. Because
Ah.
she just goes, "Have you got some sugar?" And then kind of looks at Faye. Like
Yeah.
she's obviously just walked in front of Faye.
I know, because that's the nuts thing. Like, Faye is clearly there first, but then Nell's just like fucking just, decides to just walk into the house for sugar.
Yeah, because she just walks in.
Yeah.
Doesn't like Tony's like, yeah, and then she just boom.
She has crazy old lady powers. Like, provided you don't smell like shit, people who let crazy old ladies kind of do an awful lot.
It's true. I had one of my managers that I used to work for. He told me when he worked at Crazy Clark's, which is like a discount store in Australia.
Yeah, kind of like a
$2
dollar store where you can
shop,
get
yeah.
lots of stuff. Yeah.
He said there was a sweet old lady who used to come in every week.
Yeah.
And she had one of those little trundle things, little bag that has the wheels.
Yeah, little wheelie
And
bag.
she was stealing stuff. And no one checked her bag because it was this little sweet old lady. You know, she'd buy a few things, but she was just stealing stuff en masse. Because one day a new member stopped her.
Yeah.
He was a new, and he's like, "Oh, I have to check your bag," and everyone's like, "Oh, no, she's fine, she's
It's
regular."
just Ethel.
And he's like, "Oh, no, it's procedure, blah blah." And so they open it, and yeah, she was stealing all that stuff. It happens more than you think.
Power to her.
Because
Well, it's like Patton Oswalt's got that bit of like, the older you get, the fewer laws should apply to you. And I 100% stand by that. And his thing of like, yeah, once you get past 90, you can steal anything. You're not allowed to hire guys, you're not allowed to get a truck, but if you can physically pick it up and walk off with it, it's yours. And I agree. Like, I just think that's fine. Because, you know, what's a 90-year-old going to get really? Whereas I feel that I'll have maintained myself to 90 and will be able to steal all sorts of things when I get that old.
Still people. Just walk into JB Hi-Fi, pick up the security guard. Stay, you're mine now.
Yeah.
Put you outside my home.
Yeah, you got to make sure people don't walk out of my house. Old people don't come and rob me.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem then. It'll get, like, once you get a generation of this going, there'll be healthy people in their 90s and it'll just be like, you know, walking around trying to look feeble and stuff, and then just go into your house. It's like, oh, God damn it. I just stole that TV.
So Tony starts showing Faye the sculptures.
To be fair, Faye is a little more receptive now.
Yes.
Because maybe it was because even she realized a child shouldn't have to witness horny dad.
She also saw him trip over the bins and thought that was a bit funny.
I mean, yeah, pathetic is more successful than it should be, I feel. I feel like it's women's fault that gets encouraged. Because I will do, you know, within limits, obviously, but like, you know, you got to play up an angle.
Also, what's Faye's choices really in this town?
Fuck, that's a good point, actually.
It's a very small town, and it's just filled with people like Gribble and Stanhope. And I mean,
Gribble's married, but I could see him just not giving a shit about that. And then, yeah, Stanhope is like currently the only other option. And he looks like one of those dudes who would have loads and loads of black and white photos of shirtless young boys. Just shirtless. But, you know, it's one of these. There's something wrong with it, but you can't arrest him for it. That's the trick of it, you see. So yeah, she's a lot more like, you know, she looks like she actually might want to spend time with him. At least in some, you know, fashion.
It must have been Bronson. She must have gone, man, this child is...
Anyone who can put up with this kid.
Like, she needs a mother. He needs a mother. He's lost.
Then the weird music plays.
To which Nell again responds, I don't hear nothing. She's very quick to dismiss the music, but everyone else hears it.
She's like the opposite of Gribble in that she's like, no ghosts exist.
Yeah.
Gribble's just like the Tobin spirit guide for Round the Twist, but like Nell is like, you know, James Randi, I suppose.
And then that little scene sort of plays out, and we cut back to the twins. And this is I brought this up. I said because they're running, they start running to the tip, and I'm like, it looked far away.
Well, you mentioned that
last time they drove, and
Yeah.
they also rode their bikes to the sewage. So I was like, why didn't they ride their bikes?
Well, my first thought was like they only drove because they were going there to get stuff.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, you were right, because like they're running, which is not a good way to start, you know, because I thought, it must be not that far because they're running. But then it's like cuts to like, it's dark now and they're still looking for the place.
Yeah, they're still walking.
Yeah.
So
and you're
they've been
like, yeah,
walking
it's
a
like,
long
yeah, they could have
time.
just, I mean, it doesn't take anything away, but it's also like they could have just, you know, ridden and then, you know, found the gate and the gate's closed, obviously, because it's nighttime and they go, oh, okay, we got to find a way in. It's just weird. It's odd and it stood out. Yeah.
So they're creeping through the bush and you with a torch and you hear footsteps and you get shots of legs and stuff behind them, to which they quickly run and hide in the trees. And then Linda attacks.
Well, yeah, the owner of the feet gets close and Linda springs out like a trapdoor spider.
Yeah.
And does the classic like judo throw with the, you know, the foot to the gut and fucking launches Bronson into a tree.
Which is great.
Yeah. I feel like you'd need to get, it'd be, okay, so getting verticality is for that throw. I'm going to look that judo, Google judo throw on your thing. Actually, no, I'll look it up because I'm curious because it'll have a name. And I'm curious as to what it is. Because, you know, it's Japanese, so they like, you know, rigorously name all of their. What's the best judo throw? All right, I don't think that's like.
Shining werewolf. It's a move I just made up.
List of judo techniques. All right, there we go. Where is it? All right, no. There we are. Okay, it's a fucking look. Yuri Nagi hip throwing techniques. No. Unrecognized techniques. What does that mean?
Probably not recognized as official.
Do they have evil techniques?
Probably.
Look, just bring up that picture. What is it? Tomoe Nage. There we go. All right. So yeah, it does that. Catapults Bronson into a tree. And I've done that throw to people. I did judo for a little while. I kind of stopped doing it though because like a lot of it's built around grabbing like the giant outfits that you wear, and people don't wear those giant outfits a lot. So I sort of did just wrestling instead.
Right.
And it's easy enough to do that throw to people. Like it is like, especially if someone's like moving on you in some form of like force, it is the classic, like you just whoop and over they go. Getting them to go up is a bit of a challenge. And they just hurl Bronson in the tree. And then we get the great shot of Bronson just falling out of the tree and landing on his face, which is the perfect use of Bronson.
Bronson getting hurt is great.
It's optimal Bronson. And so, you know, Bronson's upset about this, which is kind of like bullshit, I think. That's a free ride into a tree. You know, back in my day, you used to have to climb trees. So weren't girls to just hurl you up there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they tell him to go home, Bronson. And this time he actually does go home.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because usually you just put him in a cave.
Yeah,
something.
you just feed him to a dragon. And something startles them, but it turns out it's a horse.
Which is great.
Yeah. And then they finally find, I think, the dump fence.
They do. And it's quite good. They get inside, they start looking, and a big sort of dump truck rumbles to sort of life.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I think this was shot at an actual dump. Because it feels, because there are actual all these car parts and stuff around, and they were at it like at least, you know, a once functional dump at the start. Like it definitely wasn't a set.
Yeah.
And there is no way in hell that they would have afforded or spent the money on, you know, moving even car wrecks to create a dump set.
You wouldn't think so, no.
So yeah, they're at an actual dump and they got one of those big front loaders and it springs to life. And then to be fair, you know what? It actually kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it, but out pops fucking Grandpa Chomper from the, you know, the tub, I want to say, at the front.
He pops out of the sort of like scoop.
Yeah, the scoop, that's it.
And my darlings.
Yeah, with his weird old man face. And that was legitimately creepy.
The music is very distressing and the imagery is not.
Well, just sudden old man face. He's got like kind of one of those rubbery old man faces. And then just, me darlings. I was like, ugh. That's, you know, there we go. That's a point in the Round the Twist of Scares column.
Yeah. And so they're walking along and the ghost starts approaching them. And naturally, that's scary. And he talks at them. He addresses them directly.
Yeah, he comes out of a fridge for some reason.
Yeah. Why was he in the fridge?
Well, I don't know, like there are times where I feel like, so I'm trying to work out what the rules are, because there's a similar effect of the golden sparkles when the ghosts pass through something, or in this situation when the ghost like takes something. And I don't know, like in my brain, I'm thinking, all right, maybe they have to like touch a thing in our world to sort of like then enter it. They can't just manifest. But I don't know. He appears in a fridge, the fridge jiggles, and then he comes out of the fridge. And then, you know, yeah, he advances on children with his arm out, going, me darlings. And, you know, that's, yeah. So they run away.
Naturally.
And yeah, at this point, Aaron guesses that it's the darlings in question are not twin grandchildren, but in fact, teeth. Which Pete does have on him. And that was a good guess because the second you said it, I was like, oh, hell yeah. No, I actually remember now. It is
Yeah.
the goddamn teeth. So I've been around old people of various generations. So, you know, like not all old people are the same old people. Like the old people from when I was a little kid are dead now because they
Mm.
were old then. I don't think I've ever heard any of them refer to their teeth as darlings.
No.
And these were a lot of people with false teeth.
Mm. The ghost kind of walks through the fire and gets a little surprised.
Yeah, he interacts with the fire in a way,
Yeah.
which I want to hear Richard Feynman explain in one of his famous lectures.
Mm.
Yeah, and then they brought like, you know those little pump up dinghies that you get, but they bought like the good one.
Yeah.
They went to Big W, they didn't go to Kmart.
Yeah.
Because this one comes with like its own canister of air that
Yeah.
auto pumps it. Whereas like, you know,
Usually you'd have to sit there pumping the little shitty foot pump.
most of the ones I had, you had to use your face, which takes a long fucking time and you get dizzy. Yeah, and then by the end of it, you don't want to even like paddle.
No.
It's just,
Tired from blowing.
yeah, your head's sore and you don't want to be like out on open water
Yeah.
with like a head spin.
The ghost catches up to them and they
Yeah.
run to the other side of the pond that they're on. And the ghost walks through the little dinghy.
Yeah.
And the dinghy pops
Yeah.
because it has too much air gone into it. Pressure's too high. And it catapults the ghost,
It just launches him.
launches him across the pond.
So now he's on the same side of the pond as the kids. Unharmed, obviously, as I don't know what you can do to harm a ghost. So he resumes his darling-y quest.
And he tells them no more mucking about.
Yeah. And that's
scary. If a ghost tells you no more mucking about,
that's in general.
I'm going to eat you.
Yeah, that's like boomer for I'm gonna hit you or something.
So the kids just, I don't know why they ran through the water instead of back around.
Yeah, I mean I would have tried to go around, but yeah, they gallop through the turgid pool and Pete is still thinking about, you know, having to pass his nerve test. So he starts climbing the pole to get to the skull.
To which the pole can't take the weight.
I mean, it's probably not properly grounded.
No.
And even if it was once, the water's probably done something to that. So, yeah.
So it comes careening down. Pete falls like flat on his face, which can't be, you know, that would have hurt.
I mean, I'm assuming it had to have been a stuntman, but like, I also think it might have been the kid
Maybe?
because it hits water. I mean, yeah, it's still a bit much. I mean, it couldn't have been the kid.
I don't think it would have been, no.
Yeah, I don't know. They probably found a stuntman with that haircut. I think they all had that back in like 1990. And then, yeah, so the ghost, you know, can just, the water doesn't bother the ghost. So he just marches over to the wet kids and starts, you know, hand out again, demanding his darlings. And which one of them was it that figured it out? Was it Pete? I'm pretty sure it was Pete.
Pete, I think, says from memory, stand back, and he's holding the
He's
teeth
holding
out.
the teeth out.
And
that's
the
right,
ghost snatches them.
That's right, yeah. And then just puts them in his
Puts
face.
them in his mouth. He's like, oh, at last, my darlings. I've been
Yeah.
looking for these for years.
It's just like Linda goes, oh, your darlings are your teeth. And I thought we thought you were your grandkids. And he goes, I hate me grandkids.
Yeah.
Which is fair. And then he says, yeah, like he owes the kids a favor.
Pete instantly goes, oh.
To be like, that's some sharp thinking from Pete.
Yeah. And so we get to the next scene, which cuts outside Gribble's house. And Pete and Linda are crouching outside the window, watching him sleep.
Which is just great.
Just great.
You should do that as a child because, you know, by the time you're an adult, people get real upset about it.
And the ghost walks through the wall, wakes Gribble up, and says, I have a present from Pete for you, and drops the skull on his pillow. This big, great, honking, moldy-looking skull.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, Gribble starts calling out for his daddy.
Yeah, like, actually, Daddy! Because, yeah, to be fair, a ghost is dumping a skull on his bed. Like, you know, we make fun of him, but, like, also ghosts and skulls. And then he picks the skull up again and goes, and this is a repeat, and drops it back down. And the kids are watching. And then, you know, I think it's all a bit much for Gribble. And he passes out. And it's funny, because then the parents burst in, and, like, effectively the kid's just asleep again. Like, I just go, oh, he's, I don't know, shouting something in his sleep or something. But they see the horrible cow skull. And then the mum passes out on top of Gribble.
That's a great shot.
Yeah. And like the important part is the kids were looking through the window to see this. thereby reinforcing the value of peeping through people's windows.
Yeah.
It's very pro voyeurism, this show.
It is.
It comes across if you pay attention and listen for the signs.
So the ghost is done. They say, "Oh, thank you. You know, this is a token of appreciation." They give him a toothbrush
Hey,
so he can clean his teeth,
let's clean his darlings.
and off he goes up into the stars like the last ghost. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in. Why are all the ghosts going to space?
Jesus lives on Saturn,
Makes sense.
and he breathes liquid arsenic.
Of course.
And this was revealed to me by a mop that I was using without proper ventilation, which is like 40 days in the desert, but like compressed into like 5 minutes, and then your housemate finds you unconscious in a small crawl space. It's fine. And
It's
that's Space Jesus. He lives on Saturn. And you can pray to him by just opening a bunch of magic markers and leaving them around your house. It's fine. And so, you know, they're at school the next day, and you know, there's that little confrontation where the twins meet up with the bully triplets. And you know what I know, and you know, Gribble has to admit that they passed the test.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'll bring up the fact that he's probably got like some kind of weird disorder now from being like, you know, he's probably got night terrors. But like what interested me there was Tiger just, once the test is passed, he's like, yep, all right, the test is passed. He starts like giving like Pete some kind of license or ticket to indicate that that's done.
I thought he gave him money because he says,
Was there a bet?
Yeah.
It didn't look like money though.
He
It just
said-
looked like a note.
'cause he said, oh, I can't remember something he said something bet.
What did you bet? That's
Yeah.
right.
And then he gives him money. I think it's supposed to be money.
I do like that like Tiger has got this, you know, he has an adherence to the letter of the rule.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about bullying for him, it's about a structure, which I appreciate. And then because Pete is an absolute son of a bitch after my own heart, locks eyes with Gribble and goes, Daddy, Daddy.
And that ends the episode.
That is
Oh,
it just
Daddy,
it's done.
Daddy.
It is done. It's just like, oh, amazing display of dominance from Pete Twist there. That's, you know, that's the mental equivalent of just mounting him in the schoolyard. And that, you know, that is some focused savagery. That's the kind of savagery that only the cruelty of the human mind can bring to bear. You know, not just whacking a fellow with a jawbone. It's just emasculating him in front of his big idiot friend and his weird small idiot friend.
And so that was the episode. That was episode 3.
And now comes the fun part. Aaron, answer the question. Have you ever felt like this? Have you ever been bullied? How did you deal with your bully? Or have you ever lost something really important to you?
Yes. On both.
Excellent. This has been answer the question. Oh, no, okay, go on, elaborate. Both what though?
I've been bullied.
Okay.
I
Awesome.
can't remember much of it, to be honest, because it was primary school.
Yeah.
I just remember rocks being thrown, like, and fists being thrown. That's all I remember.
Okay.
Pain,
Yeah.
basically. As for losing something, I know I've lost things before. As to what?
Oh no, I've got one for this.
Okay.
Okay, so we were some friends of Aaron's and me were over at Aaron's house, and we were playing video games, and it was, the evening had come to a close, and it was time for Aaron to drive some of us home, and Aaron couldn't find his keys, and that's a problem, obviously, when it comes to driving. So we spent the better part of half an hour looking for Aaron's keys. There's me, Aaron, Aaron's lovely lady friend helping, and I think 4 other people looking around for where Aaron's keys could be. Aaron, where were the keys?
On the key hook?
They were on the key hook. They were, those playing at home, the keys were on not the towel hook, not some other stray hook one may find around the house occasionally. They were on the key hook, which none of us thought to check because why?
Well, why would it be on the key hook?
I know. I mean, it's my fault, really. I mean, it's it's key spelled Quay. It was where you kept your slices of lime pie. All right, now I have to answer these godforsaken questions. Do you have any questions? Have I ever been bullied? I've been bullied. Never creatively though. I'm kind of bummed because I keep seeing this bullying in the media, and it makes it all very, very cunning.
Yeah.
And very interesting. There were no boxes. There's no arts and crafts. It's not like someone folded me an origami homosexual to make fun of me. It was just like, I don't think we even got much of that. I got hit by a slingshot one time that had a frozen grape for ammo.
Ow.
Yeah, no, to be fair, that was actually kind of creative, but in a somewhat different direction. Yeah, that hurt like all shrieking hell. Because you get the impact of a fully shot. It's hard as a rock, but it is ice goddamn cold. And that sets off all the pain receptors at once. The good one for that one was because there was a legitimate weapon involved, I dealt with that bully by telling his mum, who lived just down the road. And I think fearing possible legal reprisal beat the shit out of him. Before he even got in the door, he was copping not smacks, full tilt. When ladies get the arm waddle?
Yeah.
Yeah, full tilt powered by arm waddle force multiplier palm strikes to the back of the head. Just fucking wailing on him. That was pretty fun. That was a fun day watching that kid get just beat up by his mum. And again, all of us were just watching. Everyone was. It was beautiful. Have I ever lost something really important to me? I suppose not so important that I'd come back from the dead to hang out for it.
Yeah.
I suppose when the first time I moved out, I think around 2001, 2002. And this was before PayPass and stuff. So it was very a cash society at that point. I had my rent in my wallet, and then I lost my wallet.
Oh no.
And then and that was rent and my $20 left over for food for the week. So that was just and that's just gone. I don't get to hang around a dump and demand my fucking $300 back.
Yeah.
That's just I'm assuming a junkie managed to get. I hope a junkie found it. If anyone found it, I hope it was
crack.
Get some of the real, the West End smack you got to go to one of those creepy bodegas to get. Although I think they kind of cleared them all out. And now, listeners, we ask the question of you. And you can go, I've set up a what is that thing called? An electronic mail address, which is I have felt like this, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. You can send your emails answering if you've ever been bullied, how you dealt with that bully, or if you've ever lost something important to you. And we'll read your hopefully interesting tales next week and mention you by name and give you the small sizzle of validation that you so desperately need. You can also respond to any other questions from the past 2 weeks because I only set this up last week.
Yes.
So I have felt like this at yahoo.com, all lowercase. You can answer these questions and you will receive, not in the mail, but via some kind of telepathy, a small tickle of validation.
This has been our episode for today. My name is Aaron Costello. You can find me on the internet at KEC Aaron on Twitter, keyboardclassy.com, and YouTube. Gabriel, where can we find you?
I am Gabriel on Guard at Twitter. Not Gabriel on Gourd. That is actually Australia's foremost pumpkin expert. So don't ask him about Round the Twist. Unless you want to ask him about how pumpkins relate to Around the Twist. Then he's probably got a lot of great answers. But yeah, Gabriel on Guard.
Thank you. Good luck. Good night.
Toodles.
Bye.